Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Smith for Litter Media Live, another special edition. And joining us today, we have the Dean of Ohio University Chillicothe, Roberta Milliken, as she'll be saying goodbye. Our interview today brought to you by Classic Brands. Back with Roberta Milliken right after this. Back with Roberta Milliken, Dean of Ohio University Chillicothe. We were just talking that the last time that I interviewed you was when you came on board at Ohio University Chillicothe.
Indeed.
And 4 years later, here we're saying goodbye.
Yes. Time does fly, but we've accomplished a lot in that 4 years. Really proud of the accomplishments and the growth that we've seen up at our campus.
We had the story of your announced retirement, which is coming up at the end of June. That's in our website story at littermedia.com. Some people may not realize, before you came on board here in Chillicothe, you were at Shawnee State for a number of years.
Yeah, I was at Shawnee State for about 24 years before here. The funny thing is that all that time, or most of that time, I actually lived here in Chillicothe and made that commute up and down 23. But yeah, I spent a lot of time down at Shawnee State, wore a lot of different hats there as well. And it gave me a breadth of experience that I still appreciate very much to this day.
You would have been at Shawnee State then when my daughter was in college down there, probably.
Yeah,
so
probably.
I don't think she was you weren't the dean then, were you?
No. So I moved around a little bit when I was down there. I was a professor, and happily a professor of English. My areas of specialization were medieval and Renaissance literature. So I got to had the honor of teaching those wonderful classes for quite a few years. And then out of need and kind of the growth of that institution, I moved into some other roles. And so I started the Women's Center down there, and then became chair of the Department of English and Humanities there, and then eventually moved into the Dean of Arts and Sciences role.
When you look back over your tenure as an educator, not just at Ohio University Chillicothe, but at Shawnee and wherever else, how do you feel education has progressed in those almost 3 decades?
There have been enormous changes to education as a whole, but higher education in particular. I think a lot of that change was perhaps expedited by COVID. If I always say that if that pandemic had lasted 6 months or something, it wouldn't have had as great an impact. But, it endured for a couple years. And because of that, my goodness, the changes we saw just in offering classes online, kind of the expectations that students and faculty alike have now about the convenience of education. That's really affected the way that we teach, and also the expectations, I think, that we have of graduates too. So I think that's something that certainly is remarkable if you think about some of the changes. But, the students, their love of learning and the need to instill those good, solid skills in communication and critical thinking and problem solving, all of those things certainly remain intact. So now we just have different ways, perhaps, of trying to teach and challenges that go with that.
I know a lot of studies indicate that the face-to-face teacher-student relationship is critical for younger age students, but online classes were really available for college-age students before COVID, although COVID, took that to a different level. Do you think that face-to-face is not as needed or necessary for college age as opposed to the younger age students?
It's an interesting question. I think it probably depends. It depends a lot upon the student, the individual student. I think if the students have that face-to-face interaction, that kind of provides a really nice foundation for them. So if they have that early on, then perhaps that kind of flexibility, we can be a little bit more confident that the learning that needs to take place later in their educational careers is effective and good. I don't know. I tend to think that we still, we're developing for quite some time. And so I think the more practice we have at interacting face-to-face, the more practice that we have at talking to one another face-to-face, not just via our little phones and computers and such, I think all of that really just prepares a person in real important fundamental ways. So I would say, I guess back to your question, it just depends upon the student, but I think we're starting to see that more people are coming back to the face-to-face, not only early on, but there's a desire for students at the college level, at the university level, to also have those kinds of experiences. So we're seeing more of a request for those kinds of classes.
Seems that there's been such a bigger emphasis, at least here in Ohio in the last few years, in grades 6 through 12, to expand to have more of an emphasis towards not just vocational training, but some along that line. Has some of that migrated over into the college level too?
Absolutely, because what we see with that shift, that kind of emphasis on talking to kids at an earlier age about career opportunities, we have that really vibrant College Credit Plus program in the state of Ohio. So we'll see those students, that age range that you just named, they're able to take college level classes if they so choose. That comes with, they are college classes, so that comes with expectations there that they will be able to perform at that level. But that door then swings both ways. So as that conversation is starting earlier in a student's career, we'll also see it at the college level. So I think, in the past, what we do is we would just say, if you've got that good liberal arts education, that is going to prepare you to go in a lot of different directions in your lifetime. And we know that students make use of that. Gone are the days when a student just kind of sticks to one particular career for 30 years at one particular place. More often than not, what we see are students who move. They may change careers 6 times in their lifetime. If they're interested in that kind of pivoting, they're easy. The pivot becomes easier if they have those foundational skills. I still believe in the liberal arts, but I think what we see a lot of times is that students get those skills in a lot of different ways now. So they can, at the university level, we're still grounded in that. The general education classes certainly emphasize the reading, writing, and being able to work well with others and problem solve and such. But there's also that expectation that they understand what they do specifically with these skills that they're developing. So we see a lot more students coming to university wanting to know the particular career path that awaits them on the other side. Yeah. And that's, quite frankly, it's easy for us to provide that. If one goes into nursing, you expect to be a nurse on the other end of that, right? So, and a lot of our more popular majors at the college do have that kind of direct career path already identified.
30 to 40 years ago, most of the students probably walking around on the Ohio University Chillicothe campus were already high school graduates. But you were talking about post-secondary education. What percentage of those students, are still high school kids that are on the college campus?
I don't have that specific percentage, but I will say that our populations up at Ohio University Chillicothe are growing when it comes to College Credit Plus, and we are actively working to cultivate that growth because we want to be able to serve our educational partners in that way. So there's a good, healthy number of College Credit Plus students taking advantage of those opportunities there.
In talking to your colleagues at the other branch campuses, let's say OU Lancaster, are they doing much or seeing much of the same thing?
Yeah, so each of the regional campuses is a bit different from one another. As you would imagine, the communities differ and the needs differ of those communities. But yes, generally speaking, I would say there's a growing interest in that. And not even an interest, it's almost like an expectation that that's something that high school kids will now do, is go ahead and explore those other, whether it's, getting some kind of workforce credentials, while they're going to high school, or if they want to come to university and start taking college classes, they have that.
When you look back over your 4 years at OU Chillicothe, looking back, what are some things that you can see and that were accomplished that you were thinking, I am so glad I was able to see that through before retirement?
Yeah, there are quite a few things. I will, one of the first things I have to say is I don't do anything by myself at OU Chillicothe. I have a fantastic team. The wonderful facilities staff, all of the folks in student services, my dean's staff, my goodness, our communications person, our enrollment manager, we are a good team. So we are very fortunate to have wonderful people there, and it's together that we make these things happen, that we've made anything happen. In saying that, we've had a lot of growth up there, and it's exciting to be a part of OU Chillicothe. It has been for the last 4 years, and I'm sure it's going to just continue to thrive. Some of the things that we have afoot, those community education classes that have become very, very popular. Wide variety of classes are offered, and we're looking to expand those even more in other directions. We also have a wonderful initiative afoot working with the Chillicothe Trails group, where we are starting to literally trailblaze in the wooded hillside up there on the campus, making some multi-use trails for people to use. We also will have some beginning mountain bike trails there. We think that'll be a nice added feature, a good way to make use of our space and, just provide healthy alternatives for our community too. I really have to say too, some of the great partnership that we forged with Bobby Blanton and the Coffee Hub and Cafe there in the Stevenson Center, that was a labor of love, I'll say. It took quite some time to realize that space, but it's really an important and lovely space on our campus now, because it's a place where students can come to gather, where faculty and staff can come and gather, and where community can also come and make use of that space. And that kind of, the cross-pollination that kind of happens through that, just having that lovely, workable, comfortable space for everybody to work in, has been really enriching, and I think it's an important part of our campus now. And Bobby, is her piece in that, offering that cafe and having the great food and drinks available for folks, is certainly something that makes it, that just finished that space. So that's probably another one. I tell you, Mike, I could probably go on and on, because there's so many wonderful partnerships that we forged in the community too, with the Hopewell National Park. We have a great internship there. If you're around in the holidays, hosting the symphony for that wonderful spectacular. That's lovely too.
Well, you mentioned community, and I know that we get information that we so much appreciate from OU Chillicothe, so we can help promote it. Where the non-traditional student, maybe people in the community want to take some type of an art craft class that maybe lasts several weeks, where you don't have to be a traditional student to do that. And there are so many offerings that that your school has for people in our community. I don't know, is that every quarter that they offer that? Or?
Yes. Those community education classes are wonderfully popular, and they're for everyone and all ages. So as you said, there's a wide variety of classes there. If you want to get crafty, there are all kinds of options for you there. If you want to hone your stand-up comedy skills, you can do that. There's a podcasting class now that's up, and they're seeking enrollments for. All kinds of variety. And we are currently working with some of our community partners to expand those to offer some leadership, cultivate leadership skills among those folks in our community too. That was something that some of our partners mentioned was of need, and so we're doing our best to meet that. And I'm really excited about that. Those are just starting to kind of take shape. So probably end of summer, beginning of fall is when we'll see those roll out.
And I'm showing my age here. I said quarter. Haven't all schools gone to semesters?
Indeed, right, semesters.
Yeah, it's hard, that old habit to break.
But I didn't even notice, for this, because I'm there with you.
In wrapping up, Roberta, we've talked about what has been. What's the future bring for Roberta Milliken?
Yeah, so my husband and I feel like Chillicothe is home for us in a certain respect. We do have family that are in northern Ohio. So the only thing that I know for sure is that I'm not going to do anything quickly. So we're just going to, I think, rest, a little bit of rest, some good book reading for a little while. And then I'm sure I'll continue some of the great efforts that I've been a part of thus far in the community. So
you thought about writing?
Yes, writing is thank you. Yes, definitely.
Well, my brother
writing,
is a retired college professor, and I know that's a thing that happens. Yeah,
I do have some writing projects that have been waiting, so I'd like to dust those off and see if I can get back to that.
Yeah. Does the term professor emeritus ring anything in your head as a possibility?
Oh, perhaps. We'll have to wait and see on that. Yeah.
Well, Roberta, we certainly appreciate your time here in Chillicothe at Ohio University, Chillicothe, and of course, your years serving down at Portsmouth at Shawnee State University. Enjoy retirement. It's well-deserved.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, Roberta is Milliken, of course, Dean of Ohio University, Chillicothe, for just a couple more months. So if you want to say hello before she retires in late June, hurry on into her office or send her a card. I know she'll appreciate that. Our special edition brought to you by Classic Brands. I'm Mike Smith.